Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Ollie and JCLS Present Your Library Services, our third lecture in this series. We're glad to have the opportunity to be back with you and to share some of the things that we love to talk about, our library services, and hopefully give you a little more insight into the various aspects of those. And I want to thank Ollie for making that possible with our partnership with them too, so we appreciate that. Well, tonight, Community Engagement Manager Josh Letsinger will cover a topic he's well-versed in, community engagement with JCLS. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. While there's no chat feature for the webinar, if you have questions or comments, please put them into the Q&A section that you'll see at the bottom of your Zoom interface there on your screen. And we'll answer those. Those answers will be sent out at the conclusion of the series. And now we'll go ahead and present our land acknowledgement. Jackson County Library Services acknowledges that its libraries are located within the traditional lands of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians and the Modoc Nation, as well as the Shasta, Takelma, and Lotgawa people, whose descendants are now identified as members of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. We take this moment to recognize the indigenous people whose traditional lands are where residents of Jackson County live today. JCLS is committed to fostering understanding and respect for indigenous people, and we encourage you to learn more about the land you reside on. And now we'll go ahead and get started and present Josh Letsinger with, again, his theme, Community Engagement with JCLS.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen here. My name is Josh Letsinger. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the Jackson County Library District. I've been in this role since June of this year, so only a few months now. But I've worked as a marketing and communications professional for the last decade. My previous role was at the Boise Public Library System, where I led marketing and communications for the city's libraries. I'm excited to be here at JCLS, and I look forward to engaging the entire county with the programs, services, and resources that we offer. Our community engagement department is organized into 4 specialized teams, each designed to meet distinct community needs while working together toward a shared mission of access, inclusion, and connection. Our technology education team helps patrons navigate the complexities of emerging technologies, whether it's accessing digital library platforms like our Library to Go, or learning how to use Microsoft and Apple applications. This team provides hands-on support across all branches and through our mobile DART van. Their goal is to reduce digital barriers and empower patrons to use technology with confidence. Our Spanish language services team provides parallel support for our Spanish-speaking communities. They translate all library materials, host bilingual story times and events, and build relationships through outreach and committee work, including active participation in the Latino Interagency Committee. Their work ensures that every Spanish-speaking patron has equal access to every program and service that we offer. Our outreach team is multifaceted with roles that include at-home services, which delivers materials to patrons unable to visit library facilities, business outreach, which connects with local employers to promote workforce development resources. Our education services team partners with schools and educators to support curriculum and literacy, and outreach to childcare, which provides early literacy kits and bilingual materials to childcare providers. And through attending community events, we all bring the library to public gatherings across the county. Together, these roles extend the library's reach far beyond the walls of our buildings. Finally, our marketing team is responsible for all branding, content creation, public relations, and media outreach. They ensure that our messaging is consistent, professional, and aligned with our values. From flyers and social media graphics to press releases, swag, and promotional campaigns, they help amplify the impact of every service that we offer. I want to briefly show this pictorial evolution of libraries over the years. Without spending too much time, you can see in 1890, the first children's reading room emerged. Moving along, in 1940, the first use of pneumatic tubes and dumbwaiters sped up book delivery. Our first digital library took shape in the early 1990s. I want to particularly point out that there is an architectural note, and I know it's hard to read, but in the late 90s, we're all aware that libraries have been adapting to the digital revolution, but also how we use libraries as community spaces. This particular note points out how public library architecture begins to shift towards being more community-centric. And why does this matter? Well, I'm excited to share how our community engagement department and libraries more broadly are evolving to meet the changing needs of our community. Libraries have always been more than buildings with books. They are dynamic institutions that reflect the values, challenges, and aspirations of the people they serve. When libraries evolve, they stay relevant. They become inclusive spaces for all community members, and they support lifelong learning, digital literacy, and civic engagement. Public libraries are anchors in their communities. They offer far more than access to materials. They provide social infrastructure, educational support, safe spaces for connection. From resume workshops to Wi-Fi access for those without internet at home, libraries meet people where they are. When libraries respond to emerging needs, like how we offer Spanish language services, digital literacy programs, or outreach to underserved populations, they build trust. This responsiveness shows that libraries are listening and adapting. During the pandemic, the closure of 99% of libraries had a measurable impact on child development and education. That absence highlighted just how vital our services are. Libraries are now hubs of innovation. We offer virtual programming, gathering spaces, and even lend out tools and musical instruments. These changes aren't just trendy, they're strategic. They help us reach new audiences and foster creativity. Adapting to community needs also ensures our long-term sustainability. When libraries demonstrate impact in education, equity, and engagement, they earn public support and funding. There's a 2019 Gallup survey found that visiting the public library was actually the most common cultural activity in America. That's a powerful, powerful reminder of our relevance. Community engagement is essential. At the Jackson County Library System, our community engagement department is a key part of this evolution. Through outreach, technology education, Spanish language services, and marketing, we're building bridges and expanding access. Community engagement is another way to open a two-way dialogue with our communities. Our roadmap focuses on communication, process improvement, and clarity, all in service of a more responsive, inclusive library system. One thing to note that's interesting, this community engagement department was part of a recent restructure earlier in the year. That's what opened up my position. All of this to say, it's a direct response to the feedback from our communities so that we can better serve them down the road. So I want to show a video And to save everybody's ears, I'm going to play the video with kind of a low volume on my end and work the volume knob up a little bit so that you can adjust accordingly, and hopefully we can hear.
In the film It's a Wonderful Life, character Violet, the film's somber protagonist, George Bailey, and asks him where he's headed as he broods about his life on a walk.
And don't worry, I'm going to start it over now that I got the volume at a pretty good rate. Colette, can you hear me all right? The video all right there?
I can.
Perfect. All right, we'll start from the beginning.
In the film It's a Wonderful Life, character Violet Vick ambushes the film's somber protagonist, George Bailey, and asks him where he's headed as he broods about his life on a walk. His response? I'll probably end up down at the library. He's making the journey. He's getting his steps in. The library is a building, and it's staying right where it is. But what if you can't end up down at the library when you want to? Fortunately, Applegate Valley patrons have a bit more of a lifeline. Jackson County Library Services makes regular treks out to them at the Applegate Evening Market, bringing a few services with them that have made for a significant impact.
I was out at a business event in the Applegate and chatting with Kate Vangeloff, who was their business resources coordinator at the time. And this was back in 2023. And she said, we're going to have a farmer's market this summer here at Longsword Vinery. That's her vineyard. She said, but one of our problems is we have terrible cell service in this area. And that limited the vendor's ability to offer contactless payment. And I said, well, what about the DART? And she said, what's that? And so I explained that the DART was a mobile library hotspot, a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot that we could bring out, and it would provide Wi-Fi for the vendors. And she loved that idea. And so that's how our partnership was born. And as the market has moved, we've been able to move with them because the DART is mobile. The Applegate is a fascinating and beautiful place, but it's also a very rural place. So there aren't really a lot of public gathering spaces. And so the market is really one of the few places where a crowd of people can gather in the Applegate area. They're busy all day long working on their land, trying to earn a living from the land. And so they don't have time for a lunchtime brown bag. You know, the whole structure of how you get people to come in to the library and learn about the library is totally different out there. And so taking advantage of this opportunity where a crowd of people is gathered together who maybe aren't regular library users, and it gives us the opportunity to have some fun, have some casual chats with folks, gradually introduce them to the idea that the library is not just a book warehouse, that it's got services they can take advantage of. It has information that they need to help them grow their business or reach their economic goals as adults.
One of the goals is extending access to the library. The Applegate Market allows us to physically go somewhere. And I think that's fantastic. I think a lot of folks think of the library as kind of a stationary building, when in reality, the library is everywhere. The library is a part of the community. And this is a prime example of us being able to get out into the community in a space that's away from where you would traditionally think we are, and really be a part of that community.
This spring, Jamie said, we're going to have chef demos. Do you think that the library could help us record them so that we could use that for outreach and also get the word out to the folks who maybe couldn't be at the market that day? It not only highlights local artisan expertise, but it also highlights library resources. I mean, our overarching mission is to connect people with the information they need to live their lives. And so there's a lot of information that's in books, but there's also a lot of information that's in people's heads. And so bringing that together, you can learn to make sombrejo from Keith, the chef in the demo, but we also have a lot of cookbooks that are based on making use of summer's bounty. We also have a lot of appliances you can use to enhance your kitchen practice in the library of things. So it enables the market to highlight some of the resources they have there, but also lets the library and highlight some of the resources we have for incorporating more vegetables in your diet, improving your kitchen skills. We also have seed libraries. So if you're interested in growing some of your own food, you could get some seeds from the library. All these things that people will never think about the library as a resource for. And now we can highlight them with the chef demo.
For me personally, I love seeing the cooking video. It kind of inspired me to go do it myself. And so, as a member of the community, I felt immediately engaged.
He makes it look simple because he's very good at what he does. There is no better teaching tool than somebody just showing you how to do it. Part and parcel of this effort to outreach to the Applegate community is our efforts to support entrepreneurs in the Valley.
Work with ways to market and distribute their products. I know markets are a really popular place to do that, especially for folks who are getting started up. And we're able to connect with those people where they are, and then invite them to utilize our resources and our services after that.
The economic climate is changing, the actual climate is changing. And so one of the things that I emphasize in my role as business librarian is supporting the entrepreneurs who are out there, helping them grow and thrive in their businesses. We're trying a new program this year called the Rural Entrepreneur in Residence. What we have done is recruit 2 local, very successful entrepreneurs, Don Tipping and Colleen Milligan, to give back to the community and mentor some of the other small businesses, but they're also offering workshops to the public. And these are based out at the Applegate Library. That's part of what we do with community engagement, is we take the library out and meet people where they're at. And so once again, just like the chef demo, we are leveraging not only the expertise in books, I can show them how to use library tools, but we're also leveraging the local expertise that is in Don and Colleen's head. So bringing those 2 together is what's really gratifying about this program. I encourage local business owners to check them out, either through the Greater Applegate website or through the library website.
Well, so I'll go into more detail into each team in a little bit later, but I wanted to use this video as a way to introduce the concept of community engagement. So this recent project, our outreach team worked, that was Rosalind there, she's our business librarian. She worked with the Applegate community to provide technology education, the Dart van, and resources to support their evening markets. That initial partnership birthed the Rural Entrepreneur in Residence program that is currently offering programming and resources to the Applegate. Our marketing team captured the video to tell the story, as well as create educational cooking video shorts, which I highly recommend. If you go to our YouTube channel, JCLS Beyond, they have the 3 chef demos. He does 3 different recipes, and they are fantastic. We are actually, this is a little spoiler, but we're going to go to the Applegate Market again next week and capture another chef demo session. So I encourage everyone to check that out. It's been a wonderful project.
In the film, It's a Wonderful.
So we'll start with the technology education team. The technology education team is a core component of the Community Engagement Department's mission to expand access and foster digital literacy. Our team provides hands-on support for patrons navigating the library's electronic resources, including platforms like Libby, Hoopla, Overdrive, and Canopy, which I hope you heard about in last week's presentation, but if not, give us a call. Those offer thousands of digital books, movies, and audiobooks. We also assist with commonly used software applications such as Microsoft Word, Excel, and any of Apple's suite of tools. While we don't handle hardware repairs, we do specialize in helping patrons overcome everyday digital challenges. Our home base is Medford Library, but we serve all branches and offer flexible support options, including phone, email, Zoom, and scheduled in-person appointments. Technology can be a source of confusion, frustration, and even fear. especially those unfamiliar with digital tools. It feels like they're coming up with something new every single time I pull out my phone, and it scares me a little bit, to be honest. That's why our team offers personalized one-on-one support designed to meet patrons where they are, whether someone is trying to download their first ebook or navigate a new email platform. We provide patient, judgment-free assistance. Our services are available across all Jackson County Library branches, ensuring that no one is left behind in the digital age. By reducing barriers and building digital confidence, we help patrons engage more fully with the library's resources and with the broader digital world. This lecture series is a perfect example of how impactful community partnership with OLLI and SOU and how our technology education team facilitates learning. They're helping us manage the webinar as we speak. And as we heard at the beginning, there's a link down at the bottom to go to our website. And again, this will all be shared after the lecture series. To further extend our reach, the technology education team operates the DART mobile van, short for Direct Access to Resources and Technology. This mobile unit brings technology support directly to rural and underserved communities across Jackson County, exactly like you saw in that video. Equipped with Wi-Fi, laptops, tablets, and instructional materials, and always accompanied by a library specialist, DART allows us to offer one-on-one tech help, digital resource demonstrations, and small group workshops outside of traditional library spaces. It also allows us to provide that Wi-Fi access like you saw at the Applegate Market. That was pretty pivotal because it helped a lot of those folks operate their point of sale, allowing that market to grow. Whether it's helping someone download their first ebook or teaching basic email skills, DART ensures that digital literacy support is accessible to everyone, regardless of location. Moving on to our outreach team. Our outreach team plays a key role in taking the information and resources of our library into the community. They work with our branches, schools, businesses, care centers, childcare facilities, and so many more to serve people outside of the library's walls. Today, for example, 3 of those members were at the Rogue Valley Growers Market. We're going to go through those various teams. It is a little more diverse as part of that community engagement group. So we'll start with our at-home services team. They ensure that library access is not limited by mobility. This group delivers personalized materials, including books, DVDs, and audiobooks to patrons who are unable to visit one of our branches. Staff and volunteers make weekly deliveries, tailoring selections to individual preferences. Whether through mail or in-person visits, this service brings the joy of reading and connection directly to our patrons' doors. And again, the link there at the bottom if you want to learn more about them. You've already met Rosalind, our business outreach librarian, who connects the library with local employers and workforce development partners. We provide resources to support training and career growth through individualized expert assistance, premium subscriptions for on-demand business intelligence, including market and competitor research. We have online business classes. We have those workshops, as you saw, certifications, and more. We help businesses and their teams access tools for lifelong learning and professional success. In our most recent fiscal year, we actually estimated that we provide over $364,000 in value to entrepreneurs and businesses, including support for training, education, research services, physical space, and technology and equipment. And again, a lot of this is through one person. So imagine as more people engage through our business librarian, but as more people engage with our business librarian, that $364,000 number continues to increase. Our education services team builds strong partnerships with schools across Jackson County. We offer classroom visits, library tours, and curriculum aligned support to help students develop literacy and research skills. By promoting access to library cards and digital tools, we empower these students to become confident, independent learners both in and out of the classroom. Our focus is on K through 12 students. Not to mention all the fun educator support services like our unofficial Battle of the Books program that's going on right now. And lastly, as part of that outreach team, our outreach to childcare group brings early literacy directly to childcare providers. Each month, we deliver book bags filled with age appropriate titles, along with optional themed kits and music. We also offer bilingual story times, English story times. I actually saw a wonderful photo of one of our library specialists in a book fairy costume who was a book fairy at the Rogue Valley Mall recently. It was just wonderful to see. We ensure that all children across Jackson County have access to engaging, inclusive literary experiences. Our Spanish language services team is the third pillar of our community engagement department, plays a critical role in ensuring that all members of our community have equitable access to our resources. It's actually estimated that approximately 20% of Jackson County residents primarily speak Spanish in the home. This team helps translate library communications from brochures and signage, digital content, to make sure that Spanish speaking patrons receive the same information in a language that's familiar to them. They also host bilingual story times, like I mentioned, and culturally relevant events that celebrate and reflect the diverse backgrounds of our community. Their presence at public events helps build trust and visibility, ensuring that Spanish speaking residents feel welcome and represented in our library spaces. And the fourth pillar is our marketing team. You can think of our marketing team as a traditional in-house marketing style team that serves as the voice of the Jackson County Library System. They manage all aspects of branding and visual identity, ensuring that our materials reflect a consistent and professional image. They oversee both internal and external communications, including newsletters, press releases, media relations, and whether we're promoting a new program or responding to public inquiries, the marketing team ensures that our message is clear, consistent, and aligned with our mission. Beyond branding and public relations, the marketing team is responsible for creating engaging content that connects with our community. From flyers and brochures to social media posts and newsletters, press releases, they craft materials that inform, inspire, and invite participation. The team works closely with outreach, Spanish language services, and technology education, along with all of our branches and our foundation to ensure that every campaign reaches its intended audience and reflects the diversity of our community. Their work is essential to amplifying the impact of our programs and our services, and not to mention difficult, but they do a great job, especially if you liked that first video. You can see how talented our team really is. So those are the four pillars of our community engagement department. I hope you had a chance to kind of see a little bit more about what they do. But they also work together to go out into these community events. And I hope you've been out to one and seen us at Jackson County at just any event that you've attended. If you've got any ideas, I'd love to hear them in the comments at the end of the lecture series. Let me know. But by participating in these community events, we're bringing the library into the heart of public life. It's really important. Through participation in local fairs, festivals, gatherings, we promote the library services and engage with residents in fun and interactive ways. These events help us build visibility, foster those relationships, and ensure that everyone in Jackson County knows the library is here for them, wherever they are. So I have another video here. So I left the volume where it is. So I hope it's okay for your ears. I'm just going to dive right into this one. I want to share this video. This is a great one that highlights how our marketing team, in collaboration with our Spanish language services team, put everything together that we've just talked about as regarding community engagement to celebrate Library Card Sign-Up Month. Library Card Sign-Up Month is happening right now. So I'm sure everyone on this lecture already has a card, but I would invite you to tell your friends, tell your family, get your kids signed up, get your grandkids signed up, get anyone you can around you signed up for a library card. We've just talked about all these engaging things that we do out in the community. And one of the big goals is so that people get that library card. That's the key to accessing all of these tools and all of these resources. So that's my plug. I will get off my soapbox. You can find this video again on our YouTube channel, but here is this wonderful collaboration between us and a local artist. I won't spoil it. Here we go.
Yeah, I guess art for me has always been kind of a big part of my life. Especially growing up, I had an uncle who was super, super into drawing. And my family originally, they weren't necessarily any artists in my family. I think the only family members I had were we had a cousin who was a painter, my uncle who drew, and we had an uncle who was a great photographer. And so I've had a little bit of art kind of surrounding my family, but it's never really been viewed as sort of a profession. And it wasn't until about high school that I sold my first painting. And from there, that kind of gave me inspiration of like, okay, maybe there is kind of a career in all of this. I knew it would be a lot of hard work. I knew it wouldn't be easy. And that was kind of a risk I was willing to take. More so to kind of prove to my family and friends and such that it is like possible if you really, a little bit cheesy to say, but like if you really set your mind to it, like you can create those opportunities for yourself. And, you know, I started off doing a lot of like graffiti art in high school. I really loved sort of that pop art style and the contrast and colors there. And it wasn't until right towards the end of high school that I started working with Ryan, who was actually heading up this mural. And incredible painter, I started working more with him and kind of fine tuning sort of the more fine art side of it. So we would do a lot of classical studies of like old school paintings. And then it started to get to a point where once I learned a lot of that, it was like, how can I mix that new school with sort of that old school? And little by little, it started to get bigger and bigger. And I started to say like, okay, like, how can I go kind of beyond the canvas? And I started to paint on like skateboards, you know, different things that I could find. And then it started to get bigger and bigger until I started doing these murals. And with those murals kind of came almost like a different sense of responsibility, I guess. You know, you're doing this large piece for the community, and sometimes you have to ask, like, do you set certain boundaries for yourself? Like, what message do you want to convey? And that's just one of the many challenges that kind of comes with it. I was actually at work when I had received this like totally random email. And I kind of read the headline a little bit and had said something involving the library. And I kind of was like, oh, it's, you know, really random. It was a submission to my website. And yeah, during my work break, I like read over the email real quick. And normally I'm the worst with emails. But we're on this planet, like I'll claim it right now, I'm awful with emails. And I like read over it, and it was Ryan mentioning this new kind of a library card project that they're doing, and that they're looking for an artist to design a new one.
And this is a project we wanted to do for years. The thing that really jumped out at me was looking through some of Adrian's sketchbooks and seeing kind of this more surrealistic vibe that he was kind of doodling that he wasn't doing as much in his bigger, more realism based artwork and murals and stuff. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I really like this stuff. What can we do with that?
And I thought that was such a rad idea. I like immediately just replied on my phone. I was like, yes, totally down. Let's meet up. Let's plan a day. And from there, yeah, we just got into talking and kind of like looking over ideas that we could do for the project, and kind of brainstorming from there. What is up? Welcome to the studio. I think what's really interesting, and it's similar with murals in a way, designing this library card, which I've been so excited about, you kind of take a step back and think a little bit differently than you would normally painting. Because a lot of the paintings that I do here, I'm like, this is kind of my own interest. This is for me. But when you're doing a mural or a library card or a design that's going to be out to the public, you put on kind of a different like thinking cap, and you're thinking more so like, what do I want to represent with this project? Like, who's going to be looking at it? What message do I want to give out? And with this project in particular, and especially at the time that we're releasing this library card, I've been thinking a lot about kind of my childhood over in Mexico and elements that I can bring into that. So I'm doing kind of a blend of sort of how I feel when I'm reading books. And to me, I think reading is interesting, and applying it to this, because it's like you're reading this book and you're almost like thinking less in your own thoughts. And I'm trying to imagine like what this person was writing about. And I want to kind of exemplify that in this project, right? It's like include elements of my childhood growing up in Mexico, but include elements of like what people might experience when they're reading a book, sort of that curiosity, that wonder, and sort of finding this overlapping of how I can represent both of those, in a really inclusive kind of project. So for me, when I was thinking of this design, I had kind of 3 words in mind, and it was cultural, creative, and curious. And part of it had to do with sort of the library books that I've actually been recently reading. One thing that always piqued my interest and I've actually wanted to learn more about, and it's been fun with this project learning more about it. Back in my hometown, they do a lot of these small festivals, especially in areas like Colima, Michoacan, and this specifically is in near kind of Guadalajara area. But they have a lot of festivals where they do these big parades, and everybody has these handmade masks that they wear. And a lot of them have different symbolism. If anybody knows about El Danza de los Viejitos, I'm terrified of that. Ever since I was a kid, I was like mortified of those masks. But then now that I'm older, like they pique a lot of curiosity, and I always think back to that moment of me screaming my head off when they would like dance with me. And that's kind of where I wanted to take this concept, is taking some of those elements of that curiosity I had as a kid, and even me now growing up wanting to learn a little bit more about that part of my culture, and implementing it into the library card design. You know, I wanted to include something that had sort of those cultural elements of those masks that you find in like Colima. Specifically, this mask is from an area in Michoacan, this style of like dog mask. And I also like one of my favorite pieces of imagery, with a lot of the celebrations that happen over in Mexico, is like obviously like the Day of the Dead Skulls is a big one. And I thought sort of those colors and those that bright, almost like cheery aspect with something that's kind of dark is kind of this cool, I guess, kind of balance, right? Where you have something that's like inherently creepy, but you're adding this like fun element of like the color. It's very flashy. I also put in a little bit of a personal tone because I'm always like curled up in bed reading a book. That's why I have the figure kind of laying down. It's funny because in school, like reading was kind of a almost like a chore for me. But now that I'm a little older, and I think now that I've been reading more, like I appreciate books a lot more. So to me, now it's almost like this reward at the end of the day when I get to sit back and not really think about a whole lot and just focus on like what's going on in the book. And that's kind of why I wanted this mishmash. And you see this almost like wave-like motion, going up to the imagery around the guy reading. It's almost like a little bit of an escape, right? To really capture sort of that like relaxing aspect of reading, I think is important. I think throughout this project, I realized that I, over time, kind of done like a 180. When I first started doing art, I was really uptight about every mark I would make. Painting a face would take me like days and days and days at a time. So I'm like, oh, this has to be like perfect. It was all the details that no one would ever notice that I was like hyper fixated on. And with painting this one, I realized that like I like a little bit of a messiness to the drawings that I'm doing, and not that it's like inherently messy, but I like this bit of like looseness, almost like this reminder that it's like this handmade thing. Especially when you're sketching, I wanted to create kind of like a sketch kind of look on this one. There's just something about the mark making that you can get away with so much, but it still looks cool. And I think that's something I'm going to bring back into my work that I'm doing now, especially my painting work. I used to be the type to be like, oh, like books, I don't really have time for that, and it's maybe not like my thing, because I'm always like all over the place with my scheduling. I was sick for like 2 weeks, and I was like, you know what I should do? I'll just buy this book that I heard about, and now that I'm sick, I'll try reading. I got headaches watching TV while I was sick. I couldn't play video games. I was like, all right, let's go back to the basics. And I bought this book, As Tender as the Flesh, and I was so into it. I don't know, like I genuinely felt like like the creative side of my brain was working a little bit more because like reading something and I'm like actively imagining it. It couldn't have come at a better time, like reading, because especially for a project like this one where it's a lot more creatively driven, I think that reading had a huge, huge impact on that. You get sometimes so focused on like looking at a reference photo, painting from a reference, but when you kind of let go of that and you're reading, like, say, a book where you don't have a reference, the reference just that text, and you have to make that imagery, activates that little part of your brain where you're like, this is kind of cool. Like, I want to keep creating from this little pocket in my brain that's like conjuring up, random imagery. So I think, yeah, it's definitely had an impact on like the creative side of the way that I look at things.
So one thing that I want to point out that I thought was so cool, I actually have watched that video 100 times as part of the editing process as well, but I never, until just now, watching it from this perspective, really understood the impact of what Adrian said there, how this interaction, this project, and this interaction with the library specifically has now influenced his future work, right? He mentioned, he said his looseness with the lines, like it's such a powerful and something that you don't necessarily think of. We traditionally see books and even with our tech ed making such a difference in the digital space, but here we have this artist who's coloring and or drawing rather, and I don't know, this is the first time I've noticed how just by associating with our library, engaging with JCLS, and obviously we requested the project, but through this process came out his own personal growth in a way that we could not have even expected. So again, I think this is another really prime example of all of the community engagement departments working together with community partners to create something that has really just impacted people's lives and really enhanced like how our communities interact. And it's been, again, it's currently library card sign up month, so I encourage you to go look for his card. You can swap them out if you're really feeling it. But I encourage you to learn more about that process and that project, and it's been so rewarding for us. So one other thing that I'd like to mention too, and I hope everyone here has heard about this, but that was a great example of a recent project, but this is a project, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, that we have worked on for a few years, and we work on year round, and we promote and to really engage Jackson County with all of our opportunities. And so the Dolly Parton Imagination Library is a part of one thing that we do. We offer, it's primarily in our outreach to childcare, but we proudly partner with our Jackson County Library Foundation and United Rotary Clubs of Southern Oregon to provide free books to children from birth to age 5. That's right, that's free. And so each month, the enrolled children receive a high quality, age appropriate book that's delivered directly to them with their name on it at no cost to their families. This program is designed to foster early literacy and a lifelong love of reading. Available to everyone in Jackson County. It's funded through some of those primary partnerships, and it's supported by our JCLS outreach efforts. Families can sign up online or at any branch. Again, there's a link to that program at the bottom there if you want to look into it yourself or recommend it to someone. So the Community Engagement Department exists to ensure the Jackson County Library System remains responsive, inclusive, and impactful. Through our 4 teams: outreach, technology education, Spanish language services, and marketing, we're building bridges across barriers and creating pathways to access. Whether it's delivering books to patrons, hosting story times, visiting schools, or helping someone download their first audiobook, our work is rooted in meeting people where they are. Our goal is to open up a conversation, a two-way street, if you were, so that people can connect with the libraries that they are a part of. Our department's work is more than operational. It's transformational. We've served thousands of patrons through outreach, technology education, and personalized support. We've translated hundreds of materials. We've hosted dozens and dozens of bilingual programs that reflect our community's diversity. And we built strategic partnerships with schools and businesses and local organizations. And we're not done. Through consistent branding and messaging, we're strengthening our identity as a trusted and welcoming institution. And our work is just getting started. As we look ahead, collaboration is going to be the key to our continued success. We always invite staff, partners, and then you, our community members, to share feedback, ideas, and opportunities for connection. Together, we can continue to evolve, innovate, and ensure that JCLS remains a cornerstone of community life. It's accessible, it's relevant, and it's inspiring for all. Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week. Library Director Carrie May is going to explain the structure of Jackson County Library District, the Jackson County Library Foundation, and the Friends of the Library groups. We're also going to be joined by Council President John Schuyler. And thank you. Thank you for your time. And I believe Eric is going to jump back on. Oh, actually, if I'm not mistaken, Eric's out. So
Yeah, Eric's out. You just have to close out. Sorry.
perfect. So I'll close out, but like we said at the beginning, we do welcome all of the feedback. The Q&A section is open. If you have any questions for me, let me go ahead and put this final slide up. Right there is my contact information. So I really, truly invite everybody to reach out. My name is Josh Letsinger is how you pronounce it. I get that a lot. My email's right down there. It's just jletsinger@jcls.org. Again, I'm the Community Engagement Manager. This is a very new role for the system, but I think that's part of what makes it exciting. So we are super eager to take everything you've seen there. You know, I like to use those videos because, you know, the picture's worth 1,000 words, the video is worth 1,000,000 if you ask me. And this concept of community engagement can be a bit nebulous, especially as we start to incorporate it in a new setting like we are here. So I hope those videos kind of help define what we can do, but then also with the understanding that anything is possible. And so if you have an idea, or if you have a partnership or are connected to some sort of organization that is mission aligned, we would love to hear about it. My email is right there. And if you can't get a hold of me, I'm sure someone from Ollie, we've been in touch, so they can find me, or just go to jcls.org. And I encourage you to look at all the incredible things we're doing and stay connected with us. I think that at the end of the day, staying connected, that's a big part of that community aspect. And we look forward to seeing you both in the building and outside. So thank you, everyone.